Hi there. Welcome to Food on the Mind. I'm Jeb Stuart Johnson, and today we're diving into something that is somewhat critical to long term health outcomes, and that is habit formation. If you're here, you've probably found yourself struggling with emotional eating and weight management. Trust me, you're not alone. Now, before we jump in, understand that everyone will find themselves eating emotionally from time to time. About a month ago, I found myself caught in a cycle of unhealthy eating habits. I'd reach for snacks whenever I felt stressed or overwhelmed. Kind of overeating at night before bed with, desserts or treats or even just peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But it wasn't about food. It was about the comfort it brought me, even if only for a moment. Now, this was especially strange since, I've never really had issues with food relationships or emotional eating. However, as someone with a history of addiction, I'm very conscious of when a behavioral pattern emerges that is out of the ordinary. And this was one such time. I had created a new habit, one that I was not trying to. But here's the good news: breaking free from these habits and creating new ones is absolutely possible. And it all starts with understanding how habits work and taking small, manageable steps to create positive change. Today, we're going to explore exactly how you can do that, whether you're looking to make healthier food choices, manage stress better, or simply feel more in control of your eating habits. This video is for you. So get comfortable and let's dig in. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid foundation for forming new, healthier habits that stick. All right, let's get started. Let's start by breaking down what habits actually are and how they form. Understanding this is going to be key to making lasting changes. So, what exactly is a habit? Well, simply put, a habit is a routine or behavior that you perform regularly, often without even thinking about it. It's something your brain has learned to do automatically in response to certain cues. Habits are neither good nor bad. Think of them as desired or undesired instead, like brushing your teeth every morning. That's helpful if you want friends, right? But reaching for a bag of chips whenever you're stressed, if you're trying to lose or manage your weight, that might be a habit that's not serving you so well. In order to understand this, let's talk about the habit loop. This is a concept that breaks down the process of how habits form into three main components: the cue, the routine, and the reward. First, we have the cue. Now, the cue is what triggers the habit. It could be a time of day, an emotion, or a specific situation. For example, you might feel stressed after a long day at work. Next, we have the routine. This is the behavior you perform in response to the cue. In our example, the routine might be reaching for a snack to soothe that stress. And finally, we have the reward. The reward is the benefit you get from performing the routine. It could be a feeling of comfort, a moment of relaxation, or a distraction from stress. So let's look at an example. Imagine it's 3 p.m. and you start feeling tired, maybe a bit down. That's the cue. Your routine might be: I'm going to head to the kitchen and grab a sugary snack. The reward: quick boost of energy and a temporary lift in your mood. So, understanding this habit loop is crucial because it allows you to see how your habits are formed and maintained. It also gives you the insight you need to start changing them. But there's more to it. Our brains play a significant role in habit formation. When we repeat a behavior often enough, it creates a neural pathway in our brain. This pathway makes the behavior easier to perform the next time, which is why habits can feel so automatic. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter in our brain, also plays a role. When we pursue a repetitive behavior, our brain releases dopamine, making us feel good and reinforcing the habit. For many of us, emotional triggers are a big part of why we develop certain habits, especially around eating. When we're feeling stressed, anxious, or even bored, we might turn to food for comfort. Recognizing these emotional triggers is the first step to managing them. Once we know what triggers our habits, we can start to create healthier routines and rewards. So let's talk some practical steps. Now that we understand what habits are and how they form, let's dive a bit deeper into the science behind it. This knowledge will empower you to make lasting changes. So, first, let's talk about the brain and how it plays a role in habit formation. Our brains are incredibly efficient. When we repeat a behavior over and over, our brain starts to create a neural pathway. Think of it as a well worn path in a forest. The more you walk it, the clearer and easier it becomes to follow. When you perform a habit, especially one that feels rewarding, your brain releases dopamine. This is a neurotransmitter that makes you feel good and reinforces the behavior, making you likely to do it again and again. This is why habits can feel so automatic. The brain is essentially saying, hey, this feels good, let's do it again. Now, there's obviously much more complexity to the entire dopamine reward system, but for our purposes, this will do just fine. Understanding this can help us to start rewiring our brains for better habits. Now let's talk emotional triggers. They're powerful because they often lead us to seek comfort or distraction, and food's a common go to. When we're stressed, anxious, or even bored, we might reach for a snack without even thinking about it. Let's say you've had a tough day at work. You come home feeling stressed and immediately head to the kitchen. That stress is the cue. The routine is eating, and the reward is a temporary sense of comfort or relief. To break this cycle, we need to first recognize our emotional triggers. This might take some time, practice, and self awareness. When you feel the urge to snack, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What triggered this craving? Now, once you've identified the trigger, you can start to work on changing the routine. In my practice, we often utilize a chain link analysis to identify all of the actions, thoughts, and feelings that occurred in the cycle. So instead of reaching for a snack, you might try taking a few deep breaths, going for a walk, or calling a friend. The goal is to find alternative ways to respond to your emotions. The science of habit formation is all about understanding how our brains work and how our emotions play a role in our behaviors. By recognizing these patterns, we can start to create new, healthier habits. Now that we've covered the very, very basic science behind habit formation, let's get practical. We'll talk about the steps you can take to form new, healthier habits. So, step one with all of our work is always to identify. Identify your desired habits, the specific habits you would like to create. It's important to choose habits that align with your personal goals and values. Maybe you want to start drinking more water, incorporating more fruits and vegetables into your diet, or finding healthier ways to manage stress. Step two, start small, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I know it's tempting to make big sweeping changes all at once, but that can be very overwhelming. Instead, break down your goals into small, manageable steps. For example, if you want to eat more vegetables, start by adding a serving to one meal a day rather than overhauling your entire diet. Step three, we want to create a plan. Like creating a plan is crucial. We want to set clear, actionable steps for how you'll achieve this new habit. Be specific. Instead of saying, I'll eat healthier, you might say, I will prepare a healthy lunch every night before bed. Remember, consistency is key. Try to perform your new habit at the same time in the same context every day. This helps reinforce the habit loop we talked about earlier. Step four is to use habit tracking tools. There's more tools than ever now. I mean, you could use something like a journal, an app, or even just a simple checklist to keep track of your progress, whether you're an analog or a digital connoisseur. Seeing your progress in writing can be very motivating and helps you to stay accountable. Step five is going to be mindful of your cues. Pay attention to the cues that trigger your habits. I can't stress that enough. If you know that stress after work leads you to a snack, plan a different routine for that time, such as going for a walk or doing a short meditation. Step six is to focus on the reward. So, focusing on the reward and making sure the reward for your new habit is something you enjoy and look forward to, yet is also in alignment with your goals and values. It could be a relaxing activity or simply the satisfaction of knowing you're taking care of yourself. Remember, forming new habits takes time and patience, and it's very normal to encounter setbacks, but don't let them discourage you. Celebrate your small victories on the way and be kind to yourself. So, now that you have at least somewhat of a plan for forming new habits, let's talk about some common challenges you might face and how to overcome them. Remember, it's completely normal to encounter obstacles along the way. The first one is probably the big challenge, and that's this lack of motivation. It's hard to stay motivated. It's easy to start strong, but then to lose steam over time. To combat this, remind yourself why you started. Having a clear idea of your values and reminding yourself of who you wish to be will help to create a more internal sense of motivation. Keep your goals visible. Maybe write them down and place them somewhere you see every day. It's also helpful to have a support system. Share your goals with a friend or join a community where you can encourage each other. Next, we're probably going to encounter some time constraints. You're busy, right? Like life gets busy, and it's easy to let these new habits slip. To overcome this, try to incorporate your new habits into your existing routine. For example, if you want to exercise more, you might do a quick workout in the morning before your day gets hectic. Planning and scheduling your habits can make a very big difference. Next, we're going to run into step backs and slip ups. Right? Setbacks and slip ups are part of the process. That's how you practice. It's important to be kind to yourself and not let a single setback derail your progress. If you slip up, you take a moment to reflect on what happened and why. Then get back on track as soon as possible. Remember, progress is more important than perfection. Stress. Stress is the number one trigger for most of my clients and for many unhealthy habits, especially emotional eating. To manage stress, consider incorporating mindfulness and relaxation techniques into your routine. This could be deep breathing exercises, meditation, or even taking a few minutes to enjoy a quiet moment with a cup of tea. Finding healthy ways to cope with stress can help prevent you falling back on your new habits. Next, we're going to run into negative self talk. Look, sometimes we can be our own worst critics. Negative self talk can sabotage our efforts and make us feel like giving up. Practice self compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. Positive affirmations and focusing on your progress rather than your setbacks can help shift that mindset. Overcoming challenge is a crucial part of forming new habits. Stay motivated by reminding yourself of your goals and seeking support. Incorporate new habits into your daily routine to save time. Be gentle with yourself when setbacks occur and find healthy ways to manage stress. Last, replace negative self talk with positive affirmations. All right, we've covered a lot of ground so far. Now it's time to talk about maintaining your new habits for the long term. Forming a habit is one thing, but sticking with it is where the real challenge lies. So let's explore some strategies to help you stay on track. We already talked about motivation, so let's talk about that and how to sustain it long term. Motivation exists on a spectrum from external to internal, with external being that which is dictated by outside force, such as a drill instructor yelling at you, while internal is that which appears automatic, what most would refer to as discipline. It requires a few things to work: autonomy, competence, and relatedness or community. We want to move the motivation of change from the external to the internal to make it automatic. And one effective way is to continuously remind yourself of the benefits you're experiencing from your new habits, the habits you came up with. This touches on both the competency and the autonomy. Keep a journal where you note positive change, no matter how small. If it's feeling more energetic, sleeping better, or simply feeling proud of yourself, these benefits can serve as powerful motivators. Next, celebrate your small victories. Every step forward is progress, and acknowledging these wins can boost your motivation. Again, all about competency. Treat yourself to something special when you reach a milestone, whether it's a new book, a relaxing bath, or a fun outing with friends. Celebrations keep the journey enjoyable and rewarding. Next, we have to understand life is unpredictable and your habits should be adaptable. If you find that a particular habit isn't working for you anymore, don't be afraid to adjust it. Flexibility is the key to long term success. For instance, if your exercise routine feels too demanding, try a different activity that you enjoy more. The goal is to find sustainable habits that fit your lifestyle. Next, we want to build a support system, right? We talked about community or relatedness and motivation. Having a support system can make a big difference. So surround yourself with people who encourage and support your efforts. This could be friends, family, or even an online community. Sharing your journey with others can provide accountability and motivation. Don't hesitate to seek support when you need it. Next, reviewing and reflecting. Regularly review and reflect on your progress. Take time each month to assess how your habits are impacting your life. Are they helping you to achieve your goals? Do they still align with your values? Reflection can help you stay focused and make necessary adjustments. Finally, try to stay positive and persistent. Long term habit formation requires patience and resilience. There's going to be ups and downs, but it's important to keep going. Focus on the progress you've made and focus on what you need to do in this moment. Remember, every effort you make towards healthier habits is a step in the right direction. Now, maintaining long term habits involves internalizing your motivation by celebrating small victories. It's going to mean adjusting and adapting as needed, building a support system, and regularly reviewing your progress. Stay positive and persistent, and remember that you're on a journey towards better health and well being. All right, so let's now kind of shift gears a bit and dive into some practical exercises and tips so you can take everything we've discussed, turn them into action, and make these new habits stick. So we'll start with these kind of interactive exercises. Exercise one is identify your habit loop. So grab a pause this video, grab a pen and a piece of paper or an open note-taking app on your phone, and we're going to identify your habit loop for one behavior you want to change. Q. Write down what typically triggers this behavior. Is it a specific time of day, an emotion, or a particular situation? Routine. Describe the behavior itself. Get granular. What do you do in response to the cue? Reward. Note what reward you get from this behavior. How does it make you feel? Taking a moment to identify these elements will give you insight into your current habits and help you plan for change. Part two, we're going to create a habit plan. Let's create a plan for the new habit you want to form. Think of a small, specific habit that aligns with your goals. Here's the template to follow. Get that pen and paper ready. We're going to start with our new habit. Clearly define the new habit you want to form. Q, decide what will trigger this habit. Routine, outline the specific actions you'll take. Then reward, plan a positive reward for completing this habit. For example, you want to start a daily meditation practice. Your plan might look like this. New habit, meditate for 5 minutes every morning. Q, when you wake up and make your bed, routine. We're going to sit in a quiet place and meditate for just 5 minutes. And the reward, enjoying a cup of your favorite tea afterwards. So now we have some actions. Let's talk about some tips for success. Tip one, which we've talked about, use some visual reminders. Place visual reminders where you can see them. Sticky notes, phone alarms, visual cues can prompt you to stick to your new habit. These reminders help keep your goals top of mind. Tip two, pair your habits. So pair your new habit with an already existing one. This technique, known as habit stacking, makes it easier to remember and incorporate the new behavior into your routine. For example, if you want to start drinking more water, you could pair it with brushing your teeth. Don't try that with orange juice because we know how that turns out. So tip three, be patient and persistent. Remember that forming new habits takes time. Be patient with yourself and stay persistent even if progress seems slow. Consistency is more important than perfection. I've worked with over 2,000 clients in my health and wellness practice, and everyone has dealt with emotional eating at some point or another. However, these tools aren't limited to food. It may be doom scrolling social media or avoiding exercise. Working on new habits and finding relief for ones that are no longer serving you will follow the same structure. All right. I know we've covered a lot today, from understanding what habits are and how they form to practical steps and tips for creating new healthy habits. Let's take a moment to recap the key points that we've discussed. Understanding habits. We explored what habits are, how they form through the habit loop: cue, routine, and reward. The science of habits. We delved into how our brains create neural pathways and the role of dopamine in reinforcing habits. Next, we went over forming new habits. We outlined steps to identify, plan, and implement new habits, starting small and being specific. Then we went into overcoming challenges. We discussed the common obstacles and strategies to stay motivated, manage time, and handle setbacks. Worked on maintaining long term habits. We shared tips on sustaining motivation, adjusting habits as needed, and celebrating small victories. We talked about some practical exercises that you could do. We provided interactive exercises to identify your habit loop and create a personalized habit plan. I hope you found these insights and tools valuable. Remember that forming new habits is a journey, and it's important to take it one step at a time. Every small effort you make towards healthier habits is a step towards a better you. Now, I want to encourage you to put what you've learned into action. Start with one small habit and build from there. Use the exercises and tips we discussed to guide you. And remember, be patient and kind to yourself along the way. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Jeb Stuart Johnson, and this is Food on the Mind. I'd love to hear about your progress and experiences. So please share your journey with us in the comments below or join our online community where you can find support and encouragement from others on a similar path. If you have any questions or need additional resources, don't hesitate to reach out. Together, we can create positive change and support each other on the journey to better health and well being. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others who might benefit. Until next time, take care and keep moving forward.